So we're starting the introduction to the book of Zohar, the rose. Item 1. Rabbi Chizkiah began. It is written, as a rose among the thorns. What is a rose? It is the assembly of Israel, meaning Malchut. There is a rose, and there is a rose. Just as a rose among the thorns is tinged with red and white, the assembly of Israel contains din, judgment, and rachamim, mercy. Just as a rose has 13 petals, the assembly of Israel consists of 13 qualities of rachamim surrounding it on all sides. In the verse, in the beginning God created, God too elicited 13 words to surround the assembly of Israel and to keep her, the heaven and the earth was empty and chaotic, and the darkness over the face of the abyss and the spirit, up to the words of God hovered. Explanation. There are 10 sfirot: Keter, Chochma, Bina, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut. However, essentially, they are only 5: Keter, Chochma, Bina, Tiferet, and Malchut. Since the Sfira, Tiferet, contains 6 Sfirot, Chagat Nei, within it. They became 5 Partsufim: Arich Anpin, Abba Ve'ima, and Zon. Keter is called Arich Anpin. Chochma and Bina are called Abba Ve'ima. Tiferet and Malchut are called Zeir Anpin and Nukva. Zon. The 7 days of creation are the 2 Partsufim, Zeir Anpin and Nukva, of Atzilut. They contain 7 Sfirot, Chagat, Nehi, and Malchut. The writings of the act of creation explain how Abba Ve'ima, which are Chochma and Bina, emanated them from the beginning of their formation until the end of the Gadlut, the adulthood or greatness, which is conducted in them over 6,000 years. Rabbi Chizkiah begins with the explanation of Nukva de Zeir Anpin, explaining the order of her emanation from Ima, Bina, which is called Elokim. This is the meaning of Rabbi Chizkiah beginning with the explanation of the roses, which is Nukva of Zeir Anpin. At the time of Gadlut, the Nukva of Zeir Anpin is called the Assembly of Israel. And this is why it says, what is a rose? It is the Assembly of Israel. There are 2 states to that rose. 1, Katnut, the beginning of her formation, in which there is only the Sfira Keter in her, in which her light of Nefesh is clothed, and her bottom 9 fall outside of Atzilut, in the world of Bria. 2, Gadlut, when her bottom 9 rise from the world of Bria into the world of Atzilut, and with them she is built into a complete Partsuf with 10 Sfirot. At that time, she rises with Zeir Anpin, her husband, to an equal level with Abba Ve'ima of Atzilut, and they clothe them. Then Zeranpin is called Israel, with the letters Li Rosh. I have a Rosh, or a head, and the Nukva is called the Assembly of Israel, for she assembles within her all the lights of Israel, her husband, and gives them to the lower ones. Katnut, infancy or smallness, is called a rose among the thorns, since her bottom 9 were emptied from the light of Atzilut and remained as thorns. Gadlut is called plainly a rose, or the assembly of Israel. This is why it was said, there is a rose and there is a rose. The red color indicates that there is gripping to the outer ones there, for the klipot to suckle from her. This is in Katnut, when her bottom 9 are in Bria. There is also white in her kli of Keter, where there is no gripping to the outer ones. It was said, just as a rose among the thorns is tinged with red and white, the assembly of Israel contains din and rachamim, judgment and mercy. This indicates that even in her gadlut, called the assembly of Israel, although at that time she rises and clothes the binah, din still remains in her, because she needs the masach, the screen, that is set up in her for the zivug daka, for the coupling while striking, which strikes the upper light and reflects it back because of the din in the masach, the judgment in the screen.
10 ספירות דאור חוזר, הנקרא אור של דין.
By that, it raises 10 sfirot of Or Chozer, reflected light, which is called the light of Din, and within them it draws 10 sfirot of Or Yashar, direct light, called light of Rachamim. Hence, there are Din and Rachamim in the assembly of Israel as well, corresponding to the red and the white that rose among the thorns has. This is the sea that Solomon made, which stands on 12 oxen. This is so because her bottom 9 that fell into Bria have been established there in 12 oxen, and the point of Keter that remained in Atzilut is the sea that stands atop them. Altogether, they are called the 13 petals of the rose. The mochin of Gadlut of Nukva that contain illumination of Chokhmah extend from the 13 names, called the 13 qualities of Rachamim. This is why it was said, the assembly of Israel consists of 13 qualities of Rachamim as well. The main thing that Rabbi Chizkiah comes to teach us in this comparison between the rose among the thorns and the assembly of Israel is that everything that the Nukva has in her state of Gadlut must correspondingly have a preparation and qualification in the beginning of her formation, in the state of Katnut. This is why it was said that opposite the white and red in Katnut, Din and Rachamim come out in her in Gadlut. And opposite the 13 petals of in Katnut, 13 qualities of Rachamim appear in her in Gadlut. Elokim in the Bible, in the beginning God created, is the Binah that emanates to the Nukva of Zeranpin. He elicited 13 words, the heaven and the earth was empty and chaotic, and the darkness over the face of the abyss and the spirit, up to the second Elohim, God. These 13 words imply to the same 13 petals of the rose among the thorns, the sea that stands over the 12 oxen, which are preparation and qualification for the assembly of Israel to receive the 13 qualities of Rachamim. It is written to surround the assembly of Israel and to keep her. This is because the 13 qualities of Rachamim, the complete Mochin of Nukva, are regarded as surrounding and illuminating her on all sides from all around. Through them, she's kept from contact with the outer ones, because as long as the great Mochin in illumination of Chokhmah from the 13 qualities are not in her, there is suction for the outer ones in her. Item 2. Afterwards, the name Elohim is mentioned another time. Of God hovers, to elicit 5 hard leaves that surround the rose. These 5 leaves are called salvations, and they are 5 gates. This is why it is written, I shall lift up the cup of salvation, it is a cup of blessing. A cup of blessing must be over 5 fingers and not more, like the rose that sits on 5 hard leaves that correspond to the 5 fingers. And this rose is a cup of blessing. There are 5 words from the second name Elohim to the third name Elohim. Hovered over the face of the waters and said, corresponding to the 5 leaves. Henceforth, when it is said, God, let there be light, it is the light that was created and concealed and was included in that covenant, which entered the rose and produced a seed in her. This is called a fruit-bearing tree, in which they sowed. And that seed is found in the very token of the covenant. Explanation. 5 hard leaves are the 5 gvurot of Nukva, which are 10 sfirot of Or Chozer, that the Nukva raises through the zivug of Haka'ah with the upper light, called a light of Din. This is so because the 10 sfirot of direct light are called 5 chasadim, Chagat Na, and clothe the 5 gvurot, Chagat Na, of Or Chozer, reflected light. Those 5 hard leaves are the power of Din in the Masach that detains the upper light from clothing from the Masach down. This is why now it is only called 5 hard leaves, since she is still unfit for zivug on them. At the time of Gadlut, when a Masach comes in zivug with the upper light, they are called 5 gvurot. These 5 hard leaves are 5 words that there are from the second Elohim to the third Elohim, hovered over the face of the waters and said. And why was it mentioned another time? It means that there's a new action here. And he says, in order to bring these 5 hard leaves out of the Nukva, which are preparation for a zivug during the Gadlut. 10 sfirot of Or Chozer are called 5 gvurot Chagat Na. They are not called Kachabtum, because they extend the only light of Chasadim. Hence the Kachab declined from their degree, and they are called Chagat. And Tiferet and Malchut are called Netzach and Hod. In Gadlut, when the 5 hard leaves become 5 Gvurot, they are considered 5 gates, open to receive the 5 Chasadim of Or Yashar, and they are called salvations. And then the Nukva is called a cup of salvations, or a cup of blessing, since through them the Nukva becomes a Kli that holds the blessing 5 Chasadim. The number of Sfirot is 10, and they are essentially 5 Pchinot, or 13, like the 13 qualities of Rachamim. 10 indicates the Sfira Zon, in which there is only light of Chasadim. 13 indicates the Mochin of illumination of Chokhmah, which is received to the Zon. A cup of blessing indicates the extension of 5 Chasadim within her 5 Gvurot. It must be 5 fingers and not more, meaning only in the number 10, Chagat Na, and not more, with the exception of the number 13, since the Nukva is unfit to receive Chokhmah from 13, except by clothing of Chokhmah in Chasadim. Hence, first there must be extension of a blessing, which are 5 Chasadim, specifically through the 5 fingers, which are 5 Gvurot. And then she can receive from 13 as well. This means that it refers to the 5 fingers of the left hand, which are 5 Gvurot, since the 5 fingers of the right hand are 5 Chasadim. Thus the cup of blessing must be raised with both hands, meaning with the 5 fingers of the left hand as well, to indicate the intention of the 5 Gvurot. However, afterwards, in the beginning of the blessing, only the 5 fingers of the right hand should remain on the cup, to avoid awakening the gripping of the Sitra Achra, which suckles from the left. The third Elokim in the verse, "Let there be light," is to emanate the Gadlut of Nukva, which is 5 Chasadim and the 13 qualities of Rachamim, where the 5 Chasadim are 5 times light in the text. Let there be light, and there was light. That the light was good, between the light day. The 13 qualities of Rachamim are implied in the words, and there was evening, and there was morning, one day. Since one is 13, and also 13 in Gematria. These 5 lights are the light that the Creator created on the first day. Adam was watching it from the end of the world to its end. When the Creator looked at the generation of the flood and the generation of Babylon and saw that their actions were corrupt, He stood and concealed it from them. As it is written, was concealed and was included in that covenant, meaning that it entered the rows. This means that those 5 Chasadim were first incorporated in Yesod of Zaranpin and did not come directly from Binah, from Elokim, to the Nukva. and the covenant, Yesod of Zeranpin, which entered the rose and gave them to her. These 5 chasadim that come out from the 5 gvurot are called seed. The majority of the power of the din and the gvurot in the masach, by whose power it strikes the upper light and repels it, is found only in Ateret Yesod of Zeranpin, which it extended from Mazal Venakeh in the Dikna, while the Nukva receives only illumination and a branch from it. Hence, the heart of the Zivug on the Masach, which elevates the 5 gvurot that extend and clothe the 5 chasadim, which are 5 lights, is done in Yesod of Zeranpin. And he is the one who gives them to the Nukva. That seed, which are 5 chasadim and 5 gvurot, is present in the very token of the covenant, since in the sign of the covenant, which is Ateret Yesod of Zeranpin, there is the actuality of the gvurot that extend 5 chasadim, which is called seed. However, the Yesod of the Nukva receives only in the form of his gvurot. Hence, the Yesod of the Nukva is called only by the name of the form of the covenant.
Number 3, Article of the Rose. As the form of the covenant was sown in 42 zivugim, couplings from the seed, the engraved and explicit name was sown in the 42 letters of the act of creation. Explanation. The name 42 letters is simple Havaya, Havaya with filling, Havaya with filling of filling, in which there are 42 letters. That seed in the token of the covenant, which are 5 chasadim and 5 gvurot, extends from the name 42. This is why it was said that as the form of the covenant, Yesod the Nukva, was sown in 42 zivugim, from the seed of the token of the covenant, the engraved and explicit name was sown in 42 letters of the act of creation. This is so because there are 2 phases in Nukva. 1, the construction of her Partzuf, which was built through the Bina, and 2, her mating with Zeranpin, called the Zivug. And as the form of the covenant, Yesod of Nukva, was sown in 42 zivugim from that seed of the token of the covenant, where the difference is in the zivug. So you deduce in the order of the emanation of the construction of the nukva, called the act of creation, through the Binah, who was in the name 42 as well. Also, there are 2 states in the construction of the nukva, katnut and gadlut. The katnut is called engraving, meaning engraving into a receptacle of the lights of the time of gadlut. This is because all that is received by the nukva at the time of gadlut requires preparation and qualification for them from the days of katnut. The gadlut is called the explicit name because all that is concealed during the katnut is explained and becomes known during the gadlut. This is why it was said the engraved and explicit name nukva is called a name. Engraved means her katnut, explicit is her gadlut, and they too were sewn and built in the 42 letters, like the 42 zivugim in the zivug of the token of the covenant. Also, the 42 letters of the act of creation are the 42 letters presented from Bereshit through the bet of Bohu.